Hey everybody, it's Sunday, which means we're back with another edition of Storytime, live here in the Proust Pets classroom. We just got finished with a birthday party, and we also had a couple birthday parties yesterday. In case you didn't know, that's what this room is used for. We do things for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts down here. We sometimes hold aquarium classes. We're gonna be having an aquascaping class come up soon. And then of course, I do the birthday parties here, and we take all kinds of cool animals. And then, of course, each week, as you've seen, I use it for story time. So, with me this week, I have a black tree skink. These guys are a super cool skink species that comes from island chains around Samoa all the way over to Fiji. Now, what's interesting about them is that not much is really known about them. They're relatively new to the pet trade. Only a few people have really figured out how to breed these guys, but they're absolutely gorgeous skinks. And unlike things like blue-tongue skinks and fire skinks, which you've probably seen fairly often with us, these guys literally do live up in trees and live in the canopy. They spend their days basking out on branches and looking for things like insects. So they're strictly an insectivore. They have longer arms than a lot of skink species have, and they have a tail that's much more dexterous as far as it, I don't even know if that was a word, as far as it goes for keeping their balance. They are very fast. They are very elusive, but with proper handling, you can see that they actually calm down. I haven't had to do anything to this guy to try to submit him or like pin him down or anything. In fact, right now he's just kind of closing his eye over here as I'm rubbing his ear. I have a very loose grip on him. He's just kind of sitting here like, okay, cool. You're not a predator. You're not going to attack me. Now, full-grown tree skinks can reach upwards of 9 to 10 inches, so just under a foot, which is actually pretty big when you think about it, of a 1 foot long tree skink. And usually when we see lizards that big, they don't have an easy time climbing. They tend to be more terrestrial or subterranean, so down on the ground or under the ground. So to have one that's completely arboreal like this is pretty awesome. We set up these enclosures with tons of branches to climb on, lots of foliage. If you have them as a pet, I definitely suggest doing bioactive. That way they have tons of greenage growing around, and if you make some of it edible, you can keep insects in there, let them kind of eat off some of the plants, and then they'll go eat the insects at will, which is pretty cool. Now, majority of them are kind of jet black, but you can see there's a little bit of light gray and brown in there, and especially when we look at the belly, we're going to see some different colors in there as well. They have exceptionally long toes, which again is going to help them with climbing trees, hanging on the branches, even jumping limb to limb. And what I'm doing right now is this guy's actually going through a shed, and I'm getting little pieces of shed off of his toes because, especially with lizards with very thin toes like this, if we're not careful and don't get all the shed skin off of there, it'll actually start to ball up around the toes, and then it kind of cuts off the blood flow, and they can start to lose those digits. So luckily for us, his toes are in good condition and that skin's coming off no problem. Also, we make sure with enclosures like his that we're misting them at least 2 times a day. We keep things like lots of leaflet litter in there that helps like hold the humidity, lots of plants. And then if we ever notice that they are having issues with shedding, we will give them baths until they get all the shed off. And since he's already been sprayed down, it's been very easy for me to help pick some of that skin off of him. So that helps him along the way. And I'd like to think that he understands that I'm helping him out. I know we think of reptiles as being primitive, but they're really not. Reptiles are actually very intelligent, and some of them even start to show, I think, I want to anthropomorphize, but show signs of affection. Not so much that they love us or looking forward to it, but he understands that I'm helping get shed off, and then he just loosens up. So again, very cool skink species. They came in relatively recently, so because of that, we're going to keep them on quarantine for just a little bit. But we've had these guys before, and they tend to do really well. So he's a really cool lizard, the kind of lizard you're like, holy cow or holy guacamole, like that's a really cool looking lizard, which is why I picked him for today's story of Holy Squawkamole, Little Red Hen Makes Guacamole. This should be a really fun book. It says retold by Susan Wood and illustrated by Laura Gonzalez. Now, I did cheat. I flipped through the book a little bit. You guys know normally I don't read the books ahead of time. I had to because since I'm still learning Spanish, there were some words in here I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce. So I just wanted to double check them and make sure. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get started on our book of Holy Squawkamole with our black tree skink friend. All right, here we go. One day, Little Red Hen was hungry for guacamole. She looked around her cozy cocina. She had masa and cumin. She had beans and queso, but she didn't have any avocados. And there's no guacamole without avocados. So Little Red Hen trotted to the avocado grove. Holy squawkamole, she clucked. That's a tall tree. Coati, will you help me gather avocados for my guacamole? Not I, snorted Coati. I'm hanging out, but I'll help eat it when it's done. Gallinita roja. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole. Then I'll gather avocados myself, said Little Red Hen, and she did. Now, Little Red Hen had her avocados, but she needed tomatoes. There's no guacamole without tomatoes, so Little Red Hen trotted to the vegetable garden. Holy squawkamole, she squawked. Those tomato vines are tangly. Snake, will you help me pluck tomatoes for my guacamole? Not I, hissed Snake. I'm all tied up, but I'll help eat it when it's all done. Gallinita roja. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole. Then I'll pluck the tomatoes myself, said Little Red Hen, and she did. Now, Little Red Hen had her avocados and tomatoes, but she needed onions. There's no guacamole without onions, so Little Red Hen trotted to the onion patch. Holy squawkamole, she clucked. Those onions are buried so deep. Armadillo, will you help me dig onions for my guacamole? Not I, grunted Armadillo. I gotta jump, but I'll help eat it when it's done. Gallinita roja. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole. Then I'll dig the onions myself, said Little Red Hen, and she did. Now, Little Red Hen had her avocados, tomatoes, and onions, but she needed cilantro. There's no guacamole without cilantro. So Little Red Hen trotted to the herb garden. Holy squawkamole, she clucked. That cilantro is bushy. Iguana, will you help me snip cilantro for my guacamole? Not I, chirped Iguana. I'm busy basking, but I'll help you eat it when it's done. Gallinita roja. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole. Then I'll snip the cilantro myself, said Little Red Hen, and she did. Oh no! I lost my light. I gotta wave. Get my light back on. There we go. Now, Little Red Hen had her avocados, tomatoes, onions, and cilantro, and she needed to mash and mix them. There's no guacamole without mashing and mixing. So Little Red Hen trotted back to her casa. Holy squawkamole, she clucked. This melcajeta is a lot of work. Who will help me mash and mix? Not I, hissed Snake. Not I, grunted Armadillo. Not I, snorted Coati. Not I, chirped Iguana. But we'll help eat it when it's done, Gallinita roja, they said together. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole. Then I'll mash and mix myself, said Little Red Hen, and she did. Then she added something special. At last, the guacamole was done. The avocados were creamy. The tomatoes were tangy. The onions were zesty. The cilantro smelled heavenly. Holy squawkamole, Little Red Hen clucked. That's a lot of guacamole. Who will help me eat this? I will, hissed Snake. I will, chirped Iguana. I will, snort Coati. I will, grunted Armadillo. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole, they said together. Coati tucked it into a taco. Snake scooped it with a tortilla. Armadillo rolled it into a burrito. Iguana slurped it straight. Mmm, they all said. Suddenly, they stopped chewing. They huffed and puffed. They winced and wheezed. They sweated and slobbered. Holy squawkamole, they all hollered. That's a smoking hot guacamole. Little Red Hen smiled. Nothing beats a tasty guacamole, she clucked. And together, they ate every spicy bit. The end. That was Holy Squawkamole. I'm trying to think of a good lesson of that. I think a good lesson would be if a friend is asking you for help, you should probably be nice and help them out. Otherwise, they're going to throw a really spicy pepper in your food. So it's kind of more of a story of you get what you give. No one was willing to help her out, so she went ahead and did her own thing, and then they paid the price by having spicy guacamole. So I hope you guys enjoyed our book. I hope you enjoyed learning about a little black tree skink friend who is looking super cute, and I think noticing himself in the camera. And we will see you guys next week.